A new development in North American trade relations is drawing attention in both Washington and Ottawa. According to recent reports, Canadian officials have issued a firm response to growing trade pressure from the United States, signaling that tensions between the two longtime allies may be entering a more complicated phase. While the United States and Canada share one of the world's largest trading partnerships, disagreements over tariffs, supply chains, and market access have resurfaced in recent months. Now, with Canadian leaders responding publicly and officials in Washington reportedly weighing their next move, analysts say the situation could have broader implications for industries on both sides of the border. So what exactly is happening between the United States and Canada right now, and why does it matter for North America's economic future? To understand the current situation, it helps to take a step back and look at the broader relationship between the two countries. The United States and Canada maintain one of the closest economic partnerships in the world. Every day, billions of dollars in goods and services move across the border. Government data shows that the two nations exchange more than $2 billion in trade daily, making Canada one of the United States' largest trading partners. This partnership is structured largely around the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, commonly known as the USMCA. The agreement replaced the long-standing North American Free Trade Agreement in 2020 and established updated rules for trade across the continent. The USMCA covers everything from manufacturing and agriculture to digital trade, environmental standards, and labor protections. Despite this extensive framework, trade disagreements between the United States and Canada still occur. These disputes often involve agricultural products, manufacturing standards, energy policies, or market access rules. In recent weeks, several of those issues appear to have resurfaced. According to reports and official statements, Canadian officials have recently responded to pressure from Washington regarding certain trade policies affecting cross-border industries. While the exact details vary depending on the sector being discussed, analysts suggest the disagreement centers around questions of market access, regulatory policies, and economic protections for domestic industries. Canadian representatives have emphasized that the country intends to defend its industries while continuing to work within the framework of the USMCA agreement. Officials in Ottawa have also stated that Canada remains committed to resolving disagreements through established trade mechanisms and dialogue with U.S. counterparts. According to public statements, Canadian policymakers believe their policies are consistent with the rules set out in the trade agreement, and they have indicated that, if necessary, formal dispute resolution channels could be used. At the same time, officials in Washington are reportedly reviewing their options. While no final decisions have been announced, reports suggest that U.S. trade officials, economic advisors, and policymakers are discussing how to respond. Some officials argue that stronger action may be necessary to ensure fair market conditions for American industries. Others emphasize the importance of maintaining stability in the broader U.S.-Canada economic relationship. For many policymakers, the challenge is balancing domestic economic priorities with the importance of cooperation between two closely connected economies. Trade disputes between the United States and Canada often involve several key industries. Agriculture is one of the most frequently debated sectors. Products such as dairy, poultry, and grain have been the subject of previous negotiations under both NAFTA and the newer USMCA framework. Market access rules and production limits sometimes create tension between producers in both countries. Manufacturing is another critical area. North America's manufacturing network, particularly in the automotive industry, is highly integrated. Parts used in vehicle production often cross the U.S.-Canada border multiple times before final assembly. Because of this interconnected system, even relatively small policy changes can influence production costs, supply chains, and investment decisions. Energy also plays a significant role in the relationship. Canada is one of the largest energy suppliers to the United States, particularly in oil and electricity. Pipeline infrastructure, energy exports,
and environmental regulations have sometimes become topics of discussion between policymakers.
Some analysts say disputes involving these sectors could influence broader economic planning in both countries. In Washington, policymakers are now reportedly evaluating several possible responses. One potential approach involves continuing negotiations with Canadian officials to clarify or adjust trade policies. Another option could involve using formal dispute settlement mechanisms included in the USMCA. Under the agreement, disputes can be reviewed by independent panels that examine whether policies violate trade commitments. These panels allow disagreements to be addressed within a structured legal framework rather than escalating into broader trade conflicts. Some experts believe that relying on these mechanisms can help preserve stability in North American trade relations. Others suggest that direct negotiations may offer a faster path to compromise. Members of Congress from states heavily involved in manufacturing and agriculture are also closely watching the situation. For lawmakers representing regions with strong economic ties to Canada, trade policies can have direct impacts on local industries and jobs. Analysts say the outcome of these discussions could influence economic planning on both sides of the border. Although trade disputes between allies are not unusual, the situation carries broader significance. First, the economic relationship between the United States and Canada is deeply integrated. Businesses across North America depend on stable trade rules to plan investments, manage supply chains, and coordinate production. If uncertainty increases, companies may delay projects or adjust their strategies. Second, the issue comes at a time when governments are paying increasing attention to supply chain resilience. Recent global disruptions, including pandemic-related shortages and geopolitical tensions, have encouraged policymakers to rethink how supply chains operate. Some experts believe trade disputes within North America could influence these broader conversations. Third, the situation reflects larger global trends in trade policy. In many countries, governments are attempting to balance the benefits of open markets with efforts to support domestic industries, address environmental concerns, and strengthen labor protections. These competing priorities sometimes create disagreements even between long-standing allies. There are also multiple perspectives on how the situation should be handled. Some analysts believe a stronger U.S. response could help ensure that trade agreements are enforced consistently. Supporters of this view argue that protecting domestic industries and ensuring fair competition are essential parts of economic policy. From this perspective, addressing disagreements directly can help maintain confidence in international trade rules. However, others emphasize the importance of cooperation. They note that the United States and Canada have historically resolved trade disputes through negotiation and legal processes established under their agreements. Maintaining stability in this relationship, they argue, benefits both economies. Canadian officials have likewise stressed the importance of dialogue. Public statements from Ottawa indicate that Canada intends to work with Washington while defending policies it believes are consistent with existing commitments. Some economists also point out that trade tensions between close partners are not uncommon. Negotiations and disagreements often occur as industries evolve, technologies change, and governments respond to domestic economic pressures. In many cases, these disputes eventually lead to updated rules or negotiated compromises. International observers are also paying attention to how the situation develops. The United States and Canada together represent a major economic partnership that plays a significant role in global trade. Their policies can influence supply chains, investment patterns, and market conditions around the world. If disagreements arise between the two countries, other trading partners may watch closely to see how they are resolved. Some analysts believe the outcome could also influence discussions about the future of regional trade agreements. As economies adapt to technological change, climate policies, and shifting geopolitical conditions, trade agreements may continue to evolve. The way Washington and Ottawa handle their current differences could provide insight into how advanced economies manage trade disputes in the future. Looking ahead, several possible outcomes remain. One likely path is continued dialogue between U.S. and Canadian officials. Negotiations could lead to adjustments in policy, clarifications of trade rules, or new agreements addressing the specific concerns involved. Another possibility is the use of USMCA dispute panels. These panels provide a formal process for reviewing trade disagreements and determining whether policies align with the agreement. Although the process can take time, it offers a structured and predictable way to resolve disputes. A third scenario involves temporary policy adjustments by one or both governments while discussions continue. Historically, many trade disagreements between the United States and Canada have been resolved through a combination of negotiation and legal review. For businesses and industries that operate across the border, the most important factor is predictability. Companies rely on stable trade rules to plan investments, manage logistics, and coordinate production. Industry groups in both countries have often encouraged policymakers to resolve disputes through dialogue to maintain stability. The latest developments between the United States and Canada highlight the complex nature of modern trade relationships. Even close allies with strong economic ties can face disagreements as policies evolve and industries change. Canada's response to recent trade pressure and the discussions reportedly underway in Washington show that both governments are actively evaluating their next steps. At the same time, the broader economic relationship between the two countries remains strong. With deep trade connections, shared institutions, and established dispute mechanisms, the United States and Canada have a long history of working through disagreements while maintaining cooperation. How the current situation unfolds could shape the next chapter in North American trade policy. For now, businesses, policymakers, and analysts across the continent will be watching closely as discussions continue between Washington and Ottawa. If you want more clear analysis on global politics and major developments shaping the world, make sure to subscribe and stay informed.